Yep.
Hi, I'm Andy Markowitz from MusicFilmWeb.com, the online hub for music documentaries, and we are thrilled to be here at Sheffield Doc Fest talking to the one and only Morgan Spurlock. Hi, Morgan.
Hey,
thanks
how are
a lot
you?
for being with us.
Hi.
Morgan is here for the European premiere of your new film, Palm Wonderful Presents The Greatest Movie Ever Sold.
Yes.
Very funny and
rolls right off the tongue, that title.
I had to stop and make sure I got it out.
Yeah.
A very funny and very trenchant look at product placement in movies, fully funded by product placement.
That's right.
A tightrope walk that you pulled off with aplomb.
Oh, thanks.
But we're actually here to talk to you today, because we're all about the music docs, about another film you're involved with this year called The Other F Word.
Yes.
Which you're the executive producer on.
Yeah.
We did a podcast with Jim Lindberg from the film and the director Andrea Blackard-Nevins earlier this year. But for the sake of people who don't know much about the film, can you talk a little about what The Other F Word is all about?
The Other F Word is a book that, or is a film that was somewhat based on a book that Jim Lindberg wrote called Punk Rock Dad.
Right. Jim Lindberg was from Pennywise, the skate punk band in California.
Yeah, lead singer of Pennywise, who wrote a book about being this guy who's on the road, being a punk rocker, you know, playing shows every night, you know, saying fuck authority, you know, and then and having to go home every weekend after being with his kids, or have to be on the road and be with his kids and have to be authority. And so the whole film kind of looks at this idea of how do these guys keep that up? You know, how can you be that punk rocker who kind of lives that punk rock mentality and then come home and actually be a role model, be a great dad? And I think that the film is amazing. From the minute Andrea Nevins and Kristen Riley, the producer, contacted me and asked if I would get involved, I jumped at the chance. You know, as a father myself, I think it's one of the most beautiful looks at fatherhood I've ever seen.
Well, as a relatively new father and someone whose films cover in a different way approach some of the same territory about questioning authority, about thinking about what you're being told and sold by a larger commercial society. So do these ideas really resonate with you? These things really resonate with you?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's why, you know, as a kid who grew up listening to punk rock, I think that that's what punk rock is all about. It's about getting somebody to think for themselves, about being an individual, about not being fed, this massive spoon-fed of kind of corporatized thought. And I think that, that's what I love about this film is the best dads should be punk rock dads. You know, that these guys should be the best fathers because they've been kind of bucking authority forever. Not that their kids are going to kind of buck their authority as parents, but we all do as kids. You know, it doesn't matter. Your parents are wrong until you finally leave at like 18, 19 years old, and then you come home and you're amazed at how much they'd matured since you left. Yeah.
Rob Speranza from the South Yorkshire Film Network, whose office we're in, is doing the camera work, and he was just nodding because he's got a 3-year-old at home.
Yeah. He's right down there playing.
Another punk rock dad. So, was your involvement in this film to sort of cop something from your new film? Were you the product placement in this film to help it get a higher profile, or did you take a more active role?
I mean, I helped him as much as I can, you know, giving notes on the cut, helping to get interviews with people, making phone calls when they needed to kind of, just kind of up the value of the project in any way I could. For me, Andrea and Kristen just drove this boat from the beginning, and for me, anything I could do just help this movie become a reality, whether that was, getting money, getting distribution, or getting, some talent involved on camera. The thing I love about the film is the people that we actually got to come and talk to us. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Lars Fredrickson, you got the lead singer of Black Flag, you got Tony Adolescent, you had Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. I mean, it's
Alexakis from Everclear.
Yeah, there's such a fantastic kind of amalgam of old and new punk rock, and it's awesome.
Well, it runs the gamut from guys like Fat Mike.
Yeah.
From NoFX.
Who's great.
Pretty much,
Fat Mike is so good in this movie.
Who, as a dad, is Fat Mike as a dad.
That's right.
You see him in his bunny slippers and his t-shirt and with his tats.
And he has one of the best lines, as he says, this kid, we made the decision, my wife and I, that this kid was going to come into our life, that we weren't going to change our lives for our kid. And you see him, like, making breakfast for his kid and, taking him into his, like, rock and roll bedroom, and they're watching cartoons in the morning, and Fat Mike just passes right back out and goes to sleep as his kids there eating off like a breakfast tray. It's great.
He's a good dad. Are you more on the Fat Mike spectrum? You got guys in the film like Jim Lindberg and Art Alexakis, for whom this has had a greater effect on their lifestyle. They, Art Alexakis has gotten off the road. Jim Lindberg has more or less gotten off the road. They have changed their lifestyles a lot to accommodate families. Which part of the spectrum do you feel you're falling more on now?
I mean, I think I'm at the part of almost where Jim Lindberg was at the end of the movie, where he's on the road. I'm on the road so much. I'm on the road promoting my films. I'm on the road, film shooting all the time. I brought my son though here to Sheffield with me, because I didn't want him to be away from me. And so, I try and take my kid with me. I try and involve him in what I do on the road. I've taken him to film festivals. I take him on shoots with me. and I get to see him every morning, and I get to see him every night, and so that for me, that's the most important thing.
As busy as you are, and as much as you have to run around with this,
Yeah.
it's probably not, you know, Jim Lindbergh couldn't take his young kids on the road with him probably.
No,
way that you
not-
were able
probably
to,
not-
rock and roll's a different world.
I'd say taking your kids on, like, you know, the Warped Tour, probably not the place you want to take, you know, some, you know, 3 to 10-year-olds, you know, especially all girls, which is what he has. You probably don't want to take your little girls on the road for things like that. Let them be scarred later, you know, like, you know.
There's plenty of things men can do to them later in life.
Plenty of time for them to be scarred and warped, you know, by the reality of rock and roll. Not yet, just yet. Let them have that pure. Let them remain pure on some level. Film festival's a little different, so. You know, I think that, you know, for me, like, taking my kid to a film festival and, you know, him being around is a much different environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The film is also about compromise in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, are there significant ways in which you feel you've had to compromise so far? How old is your son now?
My son's 4.5,
Okay.
you know, and I think that, I mean, there's jobs that I do say no to because I'll be gone for so long. You know, I'm about to do a job right now where I'm going to be gone for 11 days and we'll be completely out of touch. Won't be able to see or speak to him, you know, at all on phone or on Skype. But for me, it's like, that's not that long. It's 11 days, and he's 4.5, and hopefully he won't remember that 11 days, and I can make up for it with another 11 great days, you know, that Daddy will be around. So, I mean, for me, I try not to take things that keep me away for a really long period of time.
To ask the question that is perhaps more piquant for you than most people, does he get to eat McDonald's?
My kid has not set foot in a McDonald's, but here's the weird thing, he knows it. Kids just know it. Like, we drive past, but what I love about my kid is, I'm training him well, we drive past and he sees the sign and he goes, "That's that nasty place." And I go, "Yes, it is." Yes, it is.
They are two very different films, Palm Wonderful and The Other F Word, but
Yeah.
they're a point where there is some intersection, and this is true of a lot of your work in general,
Yeah.
is that they both address these issues of integrity, of authenticity in what you do in your art and in your life.
Yeah.
Doing Palm Wonderful, did you really actively worry throughout it? Because there's a wonderful scene in the film where you go through this intensive brand analysis of yourself, and they come up with your brand being mindful and playful.
Yes.
Which I think is fair.
Yeah.
But part of your brand is also authenticity. And was it just an ever-present worry for you that you were blowing your brand by doing this movie? Or
Yeah.
you were at risk of that?
Oh, I mean, I think that making this film, there's a real risk of that, and, you know, I think that there's something that we talked about, and I talk about in the film, and, you know, I was conflicted with the whole time. I think the biggest thing with us was if we could maintain creative control of the movie, if we didn't let a brand come in and dictate everything that happened in the film, we were on our way. You know, that we would be fine. And I think the things that you do see them start to get involved with, because I tell everybody this, that people who talk about, well, maybe I should get a brand involved, and I said, well, just so you know, anytime you get and it's not a 25, it's not a 45, it's not a 50% chance, there's a 100% chance that the brand will corrupt your project. 100%. Whether it's something you can or can't talk about, a place you can or can't go, something you can or can't say, things that they want you to say or show in the film. I mean, it will happen 100% if you take the money. So, you know, I think with this film, it worked. It worked great. And I think that it enabled us to kind of, hopefully, you know, knock on wood, enabled me to keep some of my integrity at least.
Right. When Rob and I were preparing to talk to you, he mentioned that you had been attached at some time ago to a project about the Church of Stop Shopping.
Yeah, well, we put out a film in 2005 called What Would Jesus Buy?
Right.
And it's a film that follows Reverend Billy and the Church of Stop Shopping as they go on a mission to save Christmas from the apocalypse. And so they go on this road trip from New York, you know, to the Mall of America, to the Walmart headquarters, across to Disneyland, where the film actually ends up. And it's an amazing movie. It's like it is the anti-Christmas movie. It's Not Such a Wonderful Life, and it's great. People can see it now. It's on Netflix. It's all over the web. It's been showing every Christmas now for the last 3 or 4 years on Sundance Channel. It's kind of the best. It's the best anti-programming for the Christmas holiday season I've ever seen, because it should alter the way that you look at the holidays, because the whole message of that movie is what's more important. Just like the F word, just like the other F word says, family's what matters. This is where you should be spending your time, and it doesn't matter how many presents and things you give your kids, that ultimately it's your time that's the most important thing.
What's next for The Other F Word? Where is it now? We saw it in South by Southwest.
Yeah, The Other F Word has closed distribution, so it's going to be making its way to theaters this fall, which is really exciting. You know, we're stoked about it, but you know, I think it's just a tribute to the movie that Andrea and Kristen made. It's fantastic, and the fact that Jim Lindbergh was so open over the course of making this movie, you know, because at the end of the day, it's his story, and it's the story of a lot of rock and rollers who, you know, the road is where you have to make money now. You can't make money on album sales. You have to tour to really make a living. You're either at the upper echelon of, like, you're U2 or you are the Rolling Stones and you're traveling around in jets and helicopters and you're making millions of dollars, or you're on the road all the time as a working class band. And
kind of like being a documentary filmmaker.
And I am on the road all the time, you know, as a working class documentary filmmaker.
One more question in that regard. Do you ever feel like you want to, or would you make a film more like The Other F Word, an observational film, or do you feel like you're so closely associated with these personal documentaries, this is what Morgan Spurlock does?
Yeah, no, I mean, we made a film, you know, we did a special for AMC last fall called Committed, where we followed 4 filmmakers into the Toronto Film Festival, which that was a great, I wasn't in one frame of that show, I didn't voice over that show, and so now we're making a movie called Comic-Con Episode 4, where we followed 7 people into Comic-Con, the pop culture mega event that happens every July in San Diego. That film will be finished later this year, and again, I'm not in one frame. You don't see me, you don't hear me. We're doing that movie with Stan Lee and Joss Whedon and Thomas Tull from Legendary Pictures, Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News. You know, it's just like this fantastic little geek dream team that we got together to make that film, and yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's stuff that I think that behoove me being in because it is a much more personal kind of journey for me. And then there's things like this that, you know, I just love and I'm passionate about.
Well, we're passionate about music films, and we love that film. And Morgan Spurlock, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Taking a little time out of your schedule here at Sheffield Doc Fest. Keep your eyes on musicfilmweb.com. We'll bring you news about The Other F Word and other great music documentaries in the weeks and months to come. Thanks to Rob Speranza and the South Yorkshire Filmmakers Network for loaning us their office and their camera and his camera work, his cameraman skills. I'm Andy Marcos from musicfilmweb.com, and thank you for looking in.
Awesome.